And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free bus.
Bill Maher just went off on Zohran Mamdani, and honestly, the moment was pure entertainment. The late-night host completely tore apart the New York lawmakers' ultra-progressive agenda, even joking that Mamdani's win would basically serve as a campaign ad for conservatives. Maher's fiery takedown wasn't gentle. It was sharp, relentless, and brutally funny. Blink for a second, and you'll miss the chaos. Seriously, grab some popcorn for this one.
The most popular politician on the left.
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's Bernie? Bernie is
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is. I mean, he's not a capitalist.
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will. Trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Maher's not wrong. Republicans don't need to invent a scary version of Zohran Mamdani. He does that job himself every time he speaks. With Mamdani looking set for a New York mayoral win, critics warn that his rise could be a gift for the GOP, a flashing sign showing Democrats drifting into ideological fantasy. Mamdani insists he's just a democratic socialist, but that comfort only works with his own cheering section. And Maher? He's not buying it. To him, Mamdani represents that starry-eyed left-wing idealism that may sound noble, but gives conservatives a perfect talking point.
It must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
At first glance, Mamdani's message shines like a utopian dream, all warm promises and headline applause. But once you tug at the seams, that dream starts to unravel. Sure, idealists may swoon, but for anyone who's seen socialist experiments fail before, it feels like watching history repeat itself, the same old story dressed up again as new hope.
I think every 20 years or so...
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Exactly. Socialist movements have collapsed so many times that most people treat the ideology like a hot stove. They've already been burned. Except, of course, for younger folks drawn to shiny promises of fairness and free-for-all futures. The real problem isn't greed, it's human nature. People need challenge, reward, and the sense that effort matters. Take that away, and motivation dies. Bureaucracy grows. Decay sets in. A system built for equality ends up drowning in its own inefficiency. History has made this clear. When government tries to control everything, the machine eventually breaks. Mamdani's ideas, full of government handouts and centralized control, may sound kind and noble on paper, but they fall apart in the real world. Without freedom to create, trade, and dream, progress slows to a crawl. And sooner or later, everyone becomes equal, but only in disappointment, not prosperity.
When the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both.
In the early 20th century, many countries leaned heavily into socialist ideals, promising fairness, shared wealth, and equal opportunity for all. It sounded bold and compassionate. But as time passed, the grand vision dimmed. Once successful industries, taken over by the state, got buried under red tape. Production dropped, prices rose, and economies struggled to stay alive. The equality that was meant to lift people up ended up pulling nearly everyone down. By the 1970s, Britain had earned the grim nickname, the sick man of Europe. Only after Margaret Thatcher brought in market-based reforms did the nation finally recover and find its footing again.
Beyond saying that we're going to make this a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus New Yorkers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA plus affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of.
Maher worries that Zohran Mamdani could become a political trapdoor for Democrats, one that drops the party straight out of the center and into trouble. He knows when Democrats move too far left, they lose the moderates who actually decide elections. Many voters supported Donald Trump as a reaction to what they saw as progressive overreach, including heated debates about youth gender-affirming care. Yet Mamdani seems eager to jump right back into that political wildfire. Critics say he's been raising funds to push policies tied to those issues, doubling down on one of the most emotional topics in American politics. For Democrats who prefer practical thinking over ideological purity, Mamdani's plan isn't bold, it's reckless. It gives Republicans the perfect argument that the left has drifted too far from real-world priorities and the concerns of everyday Americans.
He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. We should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist.
We're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party.
Let's be honest. Trump doesn't even need to portray Mamdani as an extremist. Mamdani's doing that himself. He's proposed government-run grocery stores and free citywide transit, ideas that would give the state control over huge parts of daily life. And while he calls himself a democratic socialist, his tone and policies echo the far-left playbook a bit too closely for comfort. Noble intentions aside, his agenda fits neatly into the narrative that Democrats are creeping toward full-blown socialism. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you know the rest.
This vision of democratic socialism, it's one that often comes back to what Martin Luther King said decades ago. A vision of, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. Here in New York City, wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 4 are in poverty. 500,000 kids go to sleep hungry every night. It's untenable to live with this kind of a divide. We have to actually have a politics that puts working people.
Look a little closer and it's obvious. Mamdani's platform isn't new. It's a repeat of political slogans from decades ago. Big promises of fairness, equal opportunity, and shared prosperity, all wrapped in emotional speeches and cherry-picked statistics meant to inspire belief. But history has shown the same cycle over and over again. Once the applause fades and the power settles in, the fantasy cracks. Policies follow that stifle ambition and punish success. That's not the path New York or America needs. This country's strength has always come from freedom. The freedom to build, compete, create, and dream. Betting against that formula never ends well. And Maher, beneath the humor, sees exactly where that road leads.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, it wasn't so much his aunt as his dad's cousin, but, semantics. Douglas, is he ready to lead?
No, in absolutely no way is he ready to lead, and that was just another reminder of it. This is such a self-involved little narcissist with so little going.
That's the playbook, isn't it? Create touching, emotional stories to stir hearts and win support. It's an old trick polished for modern times. For Democrats who thrive on identity-driven storytelling, Zohran Mamdani's image fits perfectly. Emotional, symbolic, wrapped in compassion, and sold as progress. The political machine will adore it, calling him a hero for the unheard, a moral voice for the city. But those who look past the soft lighting and poetic speeches see something else. They know that emotional stories aren't the same as strong leadership. Mamdani's narrative may charm the idealists, but to practical voters, it's theater, smooth and polished, but hollow where real answers should be.
He even decides to turn the memory of 9/11 and the 3,000 Americans that day into a story about his aunt and the subway. It's interesting, like so many things that this smarmy candidate does, he makes it about himself and it all turns out to be untrue anyway. It seems to the extent that he had any such aunt in question, she wasn't in New York at the time and in any case didn't wear the headscarf.
That glowing backstory around Zohran Mamdani doesn't shine quite as bright when examined closely. But in deep blue New York, loyalty often outweighs evidence. And Mamdani seems poised to glide into office despite the warning signs already flashing. The real question isn't whether he'll win. It's what happens after the campaign poetry meets the hard reality of governing one of the world's toughest cities. Slogans are easy. Running New York is something else entirely. Watching Mamdani face that challenge will be fascinating. His rise isn't a victory for progress. It's a warning sign. Behind the polished speeches and sugar-coated socialist dreams lies a philosophy history hasn't exactly praised. Maher's alarm bells are ringing for a reason. If Mamdani steers New York down that road, the fallout won't stop at City Hall. It could reshape the Democratic brand entirely. And with that, we wrap today's breakdown. If this hit the mark, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.